I'm just going to connect up my mic. Just give me a sec. Piping Pirate, long time no speak. How you doing? Okay, mic is plugged in. Is sound all okay, everybody? Good evening, Razvan. Good evening, Newton Fouad. How you doing? Better than you were a month ago. Well, I'm glad to hear that. You did say you were taking a hiatus for health reasons, so I'm glad to hear that you're doing better. Sounds okay. That's good. Thank you, Razvan. Good evening, Ron. Cheers, everybody. A bit of coffee. Harold Smokes. Good evening. Sandro, long time no see. How you doing? The maestro is in the house. Well, we're doing well. It's been a busy week and a half. We had the Jewish New Year about a week ago. No, what am I talking about? About 2 weeks ago. Almost. And then it was Yom Kippur on Tuesday. And we start the Festival of Sukkot tomorrow night. So, busy time. But I'm happy to be able to get on tonight and do a live. So what I promised was that I was going to be doing a comparison with the new Peterson / Dunhill blends. Incidentally, before I do that, I was on the Danish pipe shop. They had a whole new batch of S-Bang pipes on. Must have been about 20 pipes. Every single one is sold almost immediately. Unbelievable. I think they were probably bought by one guy, by one collector. Each pipe, they're about $3,000 each pipe, and so you're talking about somebody spending $60,000-$70,000 on those pipes in one shop. Probably some Chinese collector or something like that. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. And so tonight I'm going to be using the Northern Briars, which is what I call my black canvas pipe for testing out new blends. But I think I've decided to actually, not for the but I think I'm going to actually allow myself a little gift and smoke this pipe. This is one of the pipes that I made recently, and I've kind of been eyeing it up, on the one hand hoping it sells, on the other hand hoping it doesn't sell. So far it hasn't sold. I haven't showed it as much as the other pipes, maybe subliminally. I didn't want it to sell, but it's right in my sweet zone for a pipe, size wise, weight wise, shape wise. So I think that before long this one's going to get its cherry taken. Absolutely, Josh. I mean, at the moment, the one that I'm smoking the most, which is my own, is the Rhodesian, and I smoke that probably every couple of days, and I love it. It smokes fantastically well. I've got to blow my own trumpet in terms of smokability. I've been really happy with all of the pipes that I've made in terms of the mechanical side of things. In terms of the briar and the shaping and all of that, it comes with experience and practice, and the actual briar itself I can't really control, up to a point anyway. Boswell, handsome poker, nice. Hey, Chad, how you doing? That's alright, no worries. Thanks for popping in. Alright, so these are the Peterson, the new Peterson releases of the Dunhill blends. I picked these two because they're probably the most popular, or at least they're certainly my favourite out of the whole Dunhill stable, if you like. Hi Rich, thank you. So you've got Dunhill Navy Rolls, which now again is called Deluxe Navy Rolls. Previously it was Deluxe and then went to just Navy Rolls, I think. I'll show you some of the older box tins in a minute. And this is the Peterson Flake. When I first started trying out some Dunhill blends, Flake was definitely my favourite. And at that stage, you could still get the small oblong tins, you know, the same shape as the Penzance tins. So it was roughly the same size as this. And this is actually my favourite size of tin. This and the old Orlick Golden Sliced small square tins. It's just a shame that they can't do that. It's so much more compact. What I am pleased about is that at least these are the thinner tins. I'll show you what the last iteration of the Dunhill ones were like. So this was the last one from, this is probably from 2018. And look at that. It's literally double the size. So I think these are from 2018. I haven't checked the date on them, but I'm pretty sure. And it's got a slightly different code on that, but I'm sure it will be decipherable. But anyway, it's from 2019 for sure. Yes, they are 50-gram tins, Sandro, and they're about £14 online, something like that. In the shops, they'll be about £17 probably. Yes, it's the same as before. There's no real difference in terms of price. GQ Tobaccos have got them on at about £14 or £13.50 at the moment. They've got a very slight offer on about 50 pence off. Just introduction, I suppose. Hey Tim, how you doing? Okay, so in terms of making a comparison, I don't really want to crack a tin of the Dunhill. If I'm going to be smoking this, I'll just smoke this through. And I've got some Dunhill Flake in a jar. This is from 2017. The Dunhill Navy Rolls, I don't have an open tin at the moment. And as much as I love you guys, I don't really want to sacrifice a tin. I'm going to open these Peterson ones, but I'm not going to open an older Dunhill one just for the sake of it. I'll show you the tin in a minute. These have been stuffed in so you can't see the flicks, so okay, that's good enough to get a comparison. I was never a big pipe. Hey Grobnob, I was never a big fan of early morning pipe, but I did stash away a few tins of Nightcap, which is in my cellar. In terms of Dunhill blends generally, in my cellar I've got some Nightcap, I've got some Elizabethan, some Flake, and some Navy Rolls, and the odd single tin of, say, London blend or one of these kind of some vintage stuff which I picked up over the few years. Proto Piper, how you doing? Uh-oh. A basket pipe that smokes like a block drain. That's not good. If you picked it up at a shop, you should have... I know they don't like you to test them, put them in your mouth, but you could put a pipe cleaner through it and see if it goes through easily enough, or take a torch and see if it goes through. Open it up. I'm sure they would have allowed you to do that. But that's a shame. Hey, Mix. But you could always drill it and just open up the draft a little bit. That's what I've done on some of my pipes, and it's completely changed the smokability of certain pipes. So that's definitely worth doing. So this is the last, the same idea. You get the idea. It's a big tin. This is the previous version of Navy Rolls, and it was called Navy Rolls as opposed to Deluxe Navy Rolls. I'm not sure how Peterson gets away with that. Maybe Dunhill at the time just didn't want to take the risk of the word deluxe on it, even though they may not have been told to remove the word deluxe. But there you go. And this is a slightly older version. So this one still had deluxe Navy Rolls on it. Still made in Denmark. But this one is from 2011. So these would actually be really tasty, knocking on 8 years now. So, well, Grob Knob, I think that would probably still help if you drill it out a little bit and make sure that the path for the smoke is a smooth one from the bottom of the bowl to the mouthpiece. If you try and make sure that that's as smooth as possible, you will hopefully eliminate some of that gurgle. Good evening, Jeffrey. Alright, so let's get these tins open. Okay, so here's the Peterson Flake. Yeah, I'm afraid so, Grobnob. Many people come to it quite late in life. Let's see if there's a fizz. Not bad. So, still quite a fair bit of space wasted even in this smaller tin. Good evening, Curmudgeon. Okay, so this is pretty fresh, but it's already looking reasonably dark. North Country Fisher, how you doing? So let's just take one of those flakes out. So in terms of appearance, it looks pretty identical, and the couple of years that this one hasn't really made it significantly darker, if at all. Appearance is pretty identical, wouldn't you say? It looks pretty identical to me. Right, so we can just put... Oh, I've closed that tight. Put that stuff back. Right, so that's the flake. Let's have a look at the rolls. And there's the rolls. So it's again pretty identical to what it was before. Sometimes when I open a tin of the rolls, they can be quite loose, starting to break apart, but these are pretty good. I've never noticed this before, but it looks like there's quite a smooth outer leaf, which I've not noticed on the rolls before. So the way they make these rolls is they'll have a flat leaf, fill it with tobacco, and they'll spin it. So it's almost like a sausage. So this outer leaf acts like a sausage skin to contain. It's like a wrapper on a cigar kind of idea. You end up with a big thick cigar, which is then cut in slices. I never noticed that smooth outer layer, must be honest. I wonder if that's a slight change. I'll have to at some point open the older version, or the Dunhill version. If any of you guys have got an open tin of the Dunhill version, I'd be interested if you could have a look. Now, up to now, I usually generally rub these out, but I think somebody saw one of my older videos and commented and said, just fold them into quarters and just stuff it into your pipe. But really, I want to make a comparison, so I really need to smoke it the way that I usually smoke it. So I'll give that a little bit of time to dry out. In terms of aroma, the aroma definitely has, to me, obviously it's very fresh, but to me it has quite a farmyard aroma. Usually when you open a tin of navy rolls, you'll get a bit of farmyard, but you'll also get quite a fruity, figgy sweetness. And some of them I've even, on the older ones, I've got like a tangy apricot almost kind of aroma. These ones, it clearly hasn't developed yet. There is a hint of that acidic, sort of apricot-y kind of aroma, fruity aroma, but it's not distinct enough at the moment. There is definitely like a mulchy, almost dirty farmyardy kind of smell to it as well. Let's see how it is in the smoke. Speaking of Latakias, I've actually got a jar out which I want to try as well, which is a concoction I made I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or so ago. Hey Beowulf, how you doing? I'm fine, thank you. So this is a mixture I made up in March of this year. So we're a good 6 months, hence 6.5 months. So this is Dunhill Navy Rolls, Escudo, and some Latakia. The Latakia is the blending Latakia, it's just Latakia. I think I got that probably from GQ Tobaccos, I would imagine. So it's roughly about the same amount as half a 50 gram tin. So you've got 21 grams of the Dunhill Navy Rolls and the Escudo, which is essentially a vapor, two types of vapors. Dunhill Navy Rolls smoother, Escudo a little bit more brusque, a little bit rough around the edges to me. Oh, thanks Ken, thank you very much, appreciate that. So Ken is saying that he's looked at the Dunhill. I assume you're looking at, oh, it's Escudo, I see. Okay, fair enough. So that's Escudo. It could well be that Dunhill is the same then. Yeah, in terms of nicotine, I certainly don't believe that I'm a nicotine fiend. I don't crave if I don't smoke. I might miss the hobby side of it. I might miss the action of smoking a pipe. You get so used to it being part of your life, but the nicotine itself, I don't really know. I mean, I have a day off every week on a Saturday. I don't smoke on a Saturday, so I try to sort of think to myself, you know, when the Sabbath goes out, do I quickly run to light a pipe, like some people do? There's many Orthodox people who smoke cigarettes the second the Sabbath goes out. They're jumping on a cigarette straight away. I don't get that. I don't feel the need. In fact, I have not smoked a pipe since yesterday afternoon yet, and I've kind of, although the Sabbath has been out now for about 5 hours, I wanted to have a fresh palate for these tastings, so I haven't smoked. I haven't tried it yet. No, I mean, Sandro, I probably tried it right at the time, but at the time, what I did was I did one of those pressings, and this is a lovely little puck, like a hockey puck size, a little bit smaller, and it really looks great. It's got a lovely Latakia aroma to it, and despite the fact that the Latakia represents about 20% of the blend, so it's quite a bit actually. It's 5 grams Latakia and 21 grams of the vapor, so it's actually quite strong, being 20% ish. I would have tried this actually now, but it would have tainted my palate, so I might do that a bit later. We'll see, depending on how long we're on for. Let's see where this is up to. Yeah, it's pretty good to go actually. Give it another minute or so, and we'll just get a filter in this pipe. Clean. I must be honest, Ian, I wasn't a big fan of Royal Yacht. In fact, hey Robert, thanks for joining. Hey Wildcat. Yeah, so the Royal Yacht, in the Dunhill form, I never enjoyed. It just didn't work for me. But when I tried, when the Sheraton people came to the Pipe Club of London and brought a bunch of samples, in fact they brought samples of all of the tins, I tried it and it was actually really, really very nice. It was okay, it was on the basis of like literally half a bowl, if that. But the bit that I had really did taste quite nice. Good evening, Pascal. It still is a little bit moist. North Country Fisher, I must be honest, I don't enjoy a nicotine hit myself. It doesn't go to me. That doesn't go to say that I don't benefit from a bit of nicotine. I think we do, whether we like it or not. However little we inhale, there's always some passive inhaling, whether we like it or not. And I often find that that smoking a pipe, not necessarily getting a nicotine hit, as I would do, for instance, if I smoked a really heavy-duty cigar, or say some haunted bookshop or something like that, where it would actually make me feel uncomfortable. I do not enjoy that, where I get that sort of heavy, deep feeling in the pit of my stomach, or my shoulders start to feel heavy, that kind of thing. I really don't enjoy that. It's the same sensation I get when I have too much alcohol, and I don't enjoy that feeling at all. So we're about to test for the first time the new Peterson version of the Deluxe Navy Rolls, the Dunhill Navy Rolls. And quite appropriately, I'm going to be using my Peterson lighter. This lighter I've had for quite a long time, but never used it. It's actually the third of these that I've had. 2 of them have had to be replaced. The first one I bought and used it all the time. If you go back through the early days on my channel, you'll probably see it. And essentially what happened was, after a certain amount of time, you see that there's a little screw there which holds the top plate down, and that got looser and looser. I kept on tightening it and tightening it, but eventually either it sheared off or I don't remember. It basically didn't hold anymore. So I had to send it back. They replaced it, and the same thing happened on the second one, and they replaced that as well. So I just left this in the box, and I thought maybe I'll just keep it for, I don't know, for a rainy day, or maybe I'll pass it on or whatever. It was in brand new condition, unused, still in a sealed packet. But in the last week or two, I've been kind of on the hunt for a lighter. I've mentioned this in a video before. A lighter that will give me the simplicity and reliability of a Zippo, but with butane. So something which is flint based, and completely mechanical, with no electrical pulse needed, no piezo lighting or anything like that. And all you had to replace was the flint over time. And something which was as simple as a Zippo, which just goes on and on and on and works forever. So you can get an insert for the Zippos, but I've tried them before and I don't find them to be very reliable. Certainly not the pipe ones anyway. Anyway, long story short, I took it out and I filled it up, and I've been using it since. But I'm still on the lookout for that kind of lighter that I could carry around with me. Not too expensive, so if anything happened to it, I wouldn't be lamenting it too much. Yeah, the clipper, I was speaking to Sam at GQ about it, and he said exactly the same thing. I do have a clipper, the pipe one's the angled lighter, but I find they get very hot very quickly. Whatever metal it's made of, when you're lighting a cigarette, it's no biggie. It takes a second. But when you're lighting a pipe, sometimes it takes a bit of time to get your the thing lit properly, and I find it gets piping hot. I've got it in my drawer somewhere. The kitchen clipper is good actually, but you can't run around with that really. I was looking for something to keep with me in my pocket. I think I actually have a kitchen clipper somewhere. It's in my garage. I can keep it in the workshop. Oh, that's good. First bit of tobacco for about 30 hours. I usually take snuff on a Saturday because there's no flame involved, but I didn't even have any snuff this weekend at all. So I've been without any kind of nicotine or tobacco for a good 30 hours. This is actually a very, very nice lighter. It's very reliable, it's got a good flame, but it's just not built very strongly. Absolutely grobnob, allegedly, so you heard from a friend, I'm sure. Hey Crosby, hi Jeff. So this is the clipper lighter version with the angled head. You can get a straight one for cigarettes, and it's a really nice light. It's brushed chrome. It's a nice lighter. It's really nice. It's well made, and it's got a nice big adjusting wheel at the bottom. It's probably empty by now. It's actually, conceptually, it's a great lighter. Maybe that's actually a pretty good idea for me for running around with. The only advantage of a Zippo with that frame around the flame, the pipe one, it just means that you can use it almost in any conditions, almost, and that's unbeatable. I mean, that's certainly great value for money, and you could use it as a tamper, but I don't know if it would be a good idea. You'll block up the valve at the end there, probably. There you go. Big flame. You know what? I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to carry this around with me for a while, see what happens. Good call. The Vic is really quite unbelievable for what it is. It's one of the best smoking accessories you could have for a backup, for an emergency, for your main lighter. Cheap and cheerful. Again, the only issue I have with this is that it doesn't have an angled flame, and when you're doing that, eventually you're going to burn your thumb. But I do have one in the car always. I have one on my desk always, in the garage. Well, the thing with the Vistas, or any match for that matter, is you need to light the match and then let it burn for a bit before you bring it to your pipe, so that any aroma that's there from whether it's the sulfur or whatever it is, the DuPont, you mean the fake DuPont, is a very nice lighter, but it's not. It's quite heavy. It's not practical for running around with. It's not a pipe lighter, so it's not angled either. It's a really nice lighter to have, you know, but it's not really a good pipe lighter. Yeah, Meeks, that's pretty much where I'm at the moment. So this Peterson stays on my desk. It doesn't go into my garage, doesn't go in the car, just stays here now. Well, these navy rolls, very nice. Yeah, Tim, for a cigar it's great, the DuPont, absolutely, I agree with you on that. Actually, the flavour in this Peterson Flake, I think it's pretty much as a fresh tin, not the Flake, sorry, the Navy Rolls. It tastes pretty much like a fresh tin of Navy Rolls tasted from Dunhill. Got a lovely retrohale. It's got a really nice sweet, like a candy floss, or cotton candy as you'd call it in America, kind of flavour, but not in the main shops. The main shops are sold out. The Dunhill shop in St James's, it had stock for a long time, longer than most other places, even longer than a lot of online shops. But the last time I went, they were completely sold out, which I was really surprised. I haven't heard of Flamador lighters, no. Interesting you should say that, Grobnob, about them drying out. I'm currently using this Swan fuel as opposed to Zippo. Now what I did find, this I bought when I was on holiday, wherever it was that I was, can't remember anymore. It was actually quite near Tim. It was about an hour's drive away from Tim. Beverley, that's right, it was a town called Beverley. And then you've got the Zippo. And when I bought it, they told me, it was in a supermarket, I think it was at Tesco's, and I asked them, do you have any Zippo fuel? She says it doesn't have Zippo, but she's got this one, and it does exactly the same thing, it just evaporates quicker. And I thought that was quite surprising, but it actually is true. I find that I have to refuel more often with this one than with the Zippo. Ron, the tins that Boswell have is actually Jim Boswell's own personal cellar. So he doesn't have it in stock in the shop as such, but he's basically selling off some of his own personal collection, and those are some of them have got a few years age on them, but I don't believe they have any Dunhill left in the shop as such. You might be right, Newton. I've not heard that myself, that there's oil in Zippo fuel. LCS 38 Wildcat, nice. Which one was that? Remind me. Is that the rusticated one, the Sea Rock rustication? The poker, nice. Oh right, that was a smooth one, wasn't it? I'm itching to get back into my workshop, but I can't now for the next week and a half. Yeah, I'm with the Wildcat. I know which one it is. This was the other poker that I did, which has sold. Got some lovely grain on it. And the last pipe, number 44, has now also sold, which is my Cobra, I call it. Got some awesome grain, and I tried my hand at a little bit of a contrast stain, which worked quite well. Thank you, North Country Fisher. Appreciate that. This is smoking a little bit warm. It's probably because it's still a bit... they haven't released Dark Flake yet, Joe. I don't believe that's coming out until next year. That's what I've heard. That's coming out in 2020. I'm going to set that down for a minute, and I'm going to just rub out some of the flake. Now the flake I've been smoking quite a bit of recently, so I can have a better idea. I haven't smoked the navy rolls for a good while, but I do remember the flavour, and certainly the DNA is definitely there in the new Peterson version, but I don't think there's any difference to it. It's just that it's very fresh, I think. No, I haven't tried any of those. I've only tried these two now. Well, the Flake I'm about to try. And as with any, Virginia forward tobacco, ideally these want to be left for a few years. Obviously, you can smoke them straight away if you haven't got anything else. But the other problem is that because the Dunhill versions have gone now, you kind of don't want to smoke those either. But it gets to a point where you think to yourself, well, either enjoy them or get rid of them. They're sitting in your cellar for what purpose? They're sitting there longer and longer and longer. Nobody knows what tomorrow brings. If you've got it, enjoy it. Well, the Flake that I've been smoking now is this jar. So I've got literally one bowl left. So this is from 2015, and there's a huge marked difference between this stuff and this, which is 2017, which has still got 2 years on it. But there's a difference. There is a big difference. The sweetness that comes through in this is just so much more refined to me. But once that runs out, I'll be on to the other one and we'll see how that goes. Well, Grobnob, that is essentially what we're told, is that they wanted to distance themselves from any tobacco product. I believe that the same has happened with their cigars and their cigar ranges they were only just getting into, in the last 2 or 3 years. And I think they've stopped all of that as well, if I'm not mistaken. And their cigars were actually pretty good. There was a time when I smoked them. Which the Flake Wildcat, it's more likely to have been the 2017. If I sent you that, I doubt very much that I sent you the 15 because I had there was not enough to send really. That's I've smoked a bit of it, but there was only maybe 1 or 2 flakes, 3 flakes, maybe 4 in there, so I wouldn't have had enough to send to you. Yeah, it does, Geary. I've seen that myself, but you just don't get to it sometimes. You forget about it. I've got rather too many jars, to try and start rotating through those and getting air to each one of them. And there's 2 layers, of jars. Behind each layer, there's another row. So there's a lot of jars there. Grobnob. Must be something in your name which makes you bring Durex to mind. Well, OCD, that's those are my jars. Those are not my tins. I've got a stupid amount of tobacco, that's the truth. There's 3 or 4 tapadors, which is also full of open stuff. You can see a couple there. That's all open jars and open tins rather. And then there's probably 4 large plastic containers of sealed tins. And you can see some of them there. LA pipe smoker. How long have I been making pipes? I started around November, well, in earnest, around November, December last year. I meddled and played with the kit pipes for a couple of years. Maybe in the space of 2 years, I did maybe 3 or 4 pipes. And then in November, December time, I carved a few more of the kit pipes, but more seriously. And then at around the turn of the year, around New Year time, I bought my first lathe. So that's when I really got going. So probably about 9-10 months. Thank you, Ellie. I appreciate that. It's been really a fantastic journey for me. I've been enjoying it thoroughly. There's been frustrations along the way, of course. There's frustrations in terms of the briar, and there's frustrations in terms of the limitations of my equipment. But I'm doing the best that I can with what I've got. I've always said from day one that I'm not about to invest thousands and thousands of pounds into equipment. And I said to myself, if it takes off, if I get anywhere, any sort of half decent at it, then I will just slowly, invest without it sort of hurting my wallet. Hey Art, how you doing? Well, the pipe making videos are on my channel. I've never taught myself how to group the videos. I shouldn't really do that. Yeah, Meeks, they do slide around, but I manage. I have 3 stacked. I managed to stack 3 on top of each other, and they possibly there's other jars in front of them holding them in place maybe, so they're okay. They're not ideal for stacking, it's true, but they are good space savers. But I do like them. They've got very good access as well because the mouth is wider. So you can actually put a flake in horizontally and just lift out a flake easily. Whereas with the taller jars you have to put them in vertically and you end up pulling them and tearing them and so on. So I didn't know that it was illegal to grow tobacco here in the UK. One of my cigar suppliers in Europe sent me a bag of seeds as a sort of a complimentary thing. I said I was thinking about dabbling in trying to grow some. So they sent me a bag of seeds probably a couple of years ago. They're still in my drawer. Hey Tillerman, this tobacco tray is from Agape of Instagram. Agape Custom Leather, something like that. AGAPE. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, absolutely, pipe fuffer. I am a bit nervous about that, but I'm kind of still hobby. It's a hobby, you know. There he is, Agape Custom Shop, leather goods. Let me see if I can see. See, he does things for the jars. Bags, gun holsters. There you go. I was probably one of his first customers, so they're very kind of early versions, and you can see that they're kind of early versions. And I bought one of these off him. And you can see that It's a bit rough and ready, and it's a lot better now. And he actually sent me 2 for the price of 1, which was very nice of him. I didn't expect it. So I keep 1 in the garage and 1 here on my desk. I think it was $20 at the time, but the pricing I think is a lot more now. His stuff is so much more professionally finished. I honestly don't know what he charges nowadays. Maybe it's not more. I honestly don't know. Well, there you go. Meeks said the same thing, that they're good but they're expensive. I don't know. His stuff is definitely a lot better than it was at the beginning. What? $50? Are you sure, Josh? Wow. I've still got to try that Latakia Flake. Everybody keeps saying, you bought one for 50, Josh. Cool, you're in the money. I thought you spent it all on me. The HH Latakia Flake I still haven't tried. I do need to try that. I don't need to, I'd like to. It is a first edition, yeah. Probably. Oh, that's alright, Josh. I'll forgive you now. All is forgiven. Josh is well on his way to a 7-day set of my pipes, and I've told him that when he gets to number 6, that number 7 is on the house, and I'll make all of you the same offer. 6 of my pipes, you get the 7th one free. Northwoods is great. I first discovered Northwoods through the Dagner's channel. Jason Dagner, he smoked it a lot. Good friend Bradley. Yeah, absolutely, Newton. You can take me up on that anytime. It wasn't something that I was planning to actually offer, but it makes a lot of sense to me, financially as well. So anybody who wants to go for that, happily do that. Yeah, Tillerman. I've tried so many different Latakia blends. Not as much as Virginia's, but when I was when was it? It was probably around 2016, 2017, and I was generally only smoking Latakia blends. I wasn't smoking a filtered pipe at that stage. So I was suffering with tongue bite terribly with Virginia blends. So I started on Latakia blends. I didn't like them initially, but then I fell in love with them, and I was smoking Frogmorton quite a lot, like Frogmorton Cellar, that kind of thing, and Balkan Blue. I absolutely adored Balkan Blue. And now I've got some tins. I think I've got 2 tins in my cellar and 1 open tin, and it's okay, but I'm not like blown away by it. It's a really smooth blend, but I keep going back to Northwoods, and I always say this when I do first impressions of Latakia blends. They all are sort of set up against Northwoods. They all have to really beat Northwoods in order for me to consider making them a regular blend in my rotation. I got an order from Estivals, which Hector sent me a while back. He sent me 3 blends, or 4 actually, and they threw in a tin as well of an aromatic blend, which I haven't tried. But I haven't tried that, but maybe one day I will try that. Northwoods and plum pudding to me are very, very different. I'll come to that in a second. Tillerman, the difference, as far as I'm aware, I'm no expert, but as far as I'm aware, the difference between English and Balkan is that the Balkan blends will have, an English blend, an original English blend means a pure blend. That means tobaccos with no flavourings. So it doesn't have to have Latakia in it. It just means so you can have a mixture of different genre of tobacco, but if they're English, it means that there's no flavourings. Originally, how the English used to make their blends, it was pure with no rubbish put into it. So that's originally, as far as I know, the original term English means something which has got no flavourings. It's become a term used for Latakia blends, but I've actually changed my practice, and I now call Latakia blends, and I call, or Balkan blends, and I call non-aromatic tobaccos English blends with a small e. Now, in terms of, I've not seen that North Country Fisher because it seems it's taxed quite a bit. It's if you buy it in Germany, it is cheaper, but I don't think it's a lot cheaper, pipe tobacco. Well, it's because the term English has now become the term used for Latakia blends. So usually there'll be a mixture with some Latakia, a mixture of blends of tobaccos with Latakia in it, so it might be a more balanced smoke. But it's really an evolution of the term. In reality, English tobacco means it doesn't have to have Latakia in it. It just means a pure blend. But you're probably right in terms of how many people refer to it nowadays. But I just try to do things accurately if I can. So therefore, I've changed my description to Latakia blends now. You can actually mix. In the US, Eversols, or whatever they're called, Estadols, whatever that company is called, they do ship to America. That's very cheap, Beowulf. Very cheap. Which would make it about €10 for a 50 gram. Or €6. Yes, Sandro. I guarantee you I'm no expert. Yeah, Grobnob. Has been the acquired terminology. Nowadays, when you say English, you mean Latakia Virginia Orientals, a Balkan. But that's not the original description. Correct, Rich. I think you've hit the nail on the head. It used to be that an aromatic blend, historically here in the UK, maybe not in the UK, but certainly in England, historically an aromatic blend would be a blend of tobacco which had an aroma to it. It wouldn't necessarily mean that an aroma had been added. So therefore, a Balkan blend would have been an aromatic because it had an aromatic flavour to it. So a Latakia blend would have been considered as an aromatic blend. Now it's changed. So an aromatic blend now is something which has been added, which has had a flavouring added to it, and English is now used to describe something with Latakia in it. Absolutely, Grobner. Whatever works, Language is very fluid and evolves. Drinking one right now. I haven't got a mug out because I don't know how long these are going to go, the live sessions, so I make myself a bigger cup in a flask that will stay hot. It's funny you should say that, Art. I was just mentioned that earlier on. Well, there's two reasons. One is that I smoke this all the time. I smoke this probably at least once every 2 days, and I've got this one lined up. I've been looking at it, as I said earlier on. I've been looking at it every day, thinking to myself, I'm going to strike it up, but I haven't yet. But I probably will at some point. I smoke this one quite often, which is one of mine. But if you've ever heard of the term cobbler's shoes, cobbler's shoes essentially means if you look at a cobbler, his shoes are going to be torn to pieces because he's too busy working on other people's shoes to do his own. And that's the same here. The pipes that I make, if I can sell them, I'd rather sell them. Not much point smoking them if I'm essentially smoking up my own product. Yeah, I should really make another one of these to sell. It's got such a lovely balance, even though it's quite a decent piece of briar. But it's nice. It's got a lot going for it. It's a nice Rhodesian shape. It's got a nice oval shank, which is nice, and a nice swirly stem. Smokes great. And this is a Dublin, and I love the shape of this pipe. Really, really nice. And it's the sweet spot for me. It's 51 grams, so 50 is my sweet spot. 50 and below, really, but 51 is absolutely fine. Really nice grain. Did a bit of a stain on this one. Well, it was a nice pipe. I think I will light it up. I just didn't want to try out these new blends with it because it wouldn't have given me a decent impression. Yeah, that's one of the main points that I like about it. That sort of taper, and this sort of junction here. It's a little bit of a chin, but it's not a chin. It's not like the Shape 55 where it sticks out. It's sort of really very nicely proportioned. I love the lines of this pipe. Really worked out very, very well. Nice grain licking up the sides there. You could actually do with a contrast staining. But this pipe is done. I'm happy with the way it is. It's got a nice plateau. I've smoothed out some of the plateau as well, which looks really nice. Really happy with that pipe. You want to see a nice bent Dublin? I've got a beautiful Astley, which I'm sure you've seen. Beautiful grain. I use that pipe for Latakia blends. Then to discount to myself, seeing as I'm probably going to smoke it myself. Maestro Latakia makes some really, really nice pipes. I've still actually got two which I haven't smoked. I've got two stunning ones. Do you want to see them? And you've probably seen at least one of them before. A filter reducer, you should be able to buy anywhere on any decent website. If you buy one of my pipes, I can send you a reducer included, gratis, free of charge. This is a Mastro de Paya. This was a club pipe club of London. I think it was 2017 if I'm not mistaken. I did meet him, yes. This is the club pipe from 2017. A beautiful sandblast. Lovely grain. And it says on it PCOL, Pipe Club of London, 2018. Sad thing about this is it's not a filter, so I don't smoke it. But it is a pipe that I could convert, technically. May do that one day. And then the last time he came to visit us at the Pipe Club of London, I picked up quite a similar one, which was 9mm. While I'm talking, I'm absent-mindedly smoking this Navy Rolls, and as you get down the bowl, it definitely improves. It's actually really nice. Well, the Pipe Club of London pipe for 2020, which I think is, I think it's a big anniversary. I think it's the 50th anniversary of the club. It's supposedly going to be a really special pipe. The pictures are going to be available in a few days' time, so I'm really looking forward to that. So this is the one I bought at the club, which is a part smooth, part rusticated. Very similar band, same kind of stem. Nice grain, and again a really nice rim. A Dublin pipe, and this one is 9mm. But it's not drilled very well, if I'm honest. But I've learnt that that's par for the course with drilled pipes, with bent pipes. I don't know if you can see that. In order to make the path smooth, I've had to gouge it out because the drill is quite high. Which I can see why, because the bend is quite steep. If you look at my Rhodesian, which is not as steep, I can't remember how the drill was on this one. It's also quite high, but I didn't have to gouge it out or anything. It smokes beautifully, and probably that one will as well. How's it going, Dublin? Right, hopefully this flake should be about ready. Alright, we'll set this down. And I think I will actually use my Rhodesian. So this is the Peterson Flake, which we'll compare to the Dunhill Flake. This one is from 2017. Well, the Sun Bear I've not tried because I'm kind of reserving this for BRTV, but I'm not yet sure when we're going to be able to add more videos. I'm not even sure if my video is up yet, my introductory video. Initially there was just a couple of them with videos on. Has anybody seen whether it is up or not? Yes, my video is not up yet, even my introductory video, so I'm not sure what's happening with all of that. I can see that oh, he's already got 3 videos on. He's got 2 videos on, Mike from Briar Blues. I'm not sure why mine's not up yet. Who else have we got here? Padre Piper. He's got a video up. Professor Walker's got, I've seen his already, and Derek Tant's got his up. And Four Eyed, I think, also has his up. So it looks like it's just me. Okay, I'm feeling a little bit left out here. Bit of FOMO going on. Definitely a conspiracy. Yeah, Matches has his up. Yeah, it really does look like that. It's just mine. Well, I have a bone to pick with Phil now. The Artful Codger is the only one I haven't checked yet. Yeah, his one is up as well. Okay. Hey Daniel, how you doing? Probably illegal. Well, Oh right, it looks like it's my fault. I'm just reading an email from Phil. Okay, so I can put that right. Thanks, Phil. Alright, so what I'll probably do is I'll probably upload my introductory video again, and then I'll get this video done, this small batch video, because I'm itching to try it. That's why it's sitting on my desk. Phil, what it was is I misread it. I thought it was a general thing you were telling us for the future. That's what we would have to do. I didn't realize it applied to that introductory video as well. So my misunderstanding, I guess. Your wife doesn't know you smoke a pie? Good job. Daniel, I'm currently smoking the new Peterson Flake, which is actually quite nice. And once again, it's like a new, fresh version of the Flake. I think that they're probably exactly the same. If there was any kind of renewal going on, if there was any kind of change, I would imagine they would have changed the design of the tins as well, which they haven't. The tins are exactly the same, just the name Peterson replaces the word Dunhill. And if you look around the rim here, they write original recipe, and the same on the Flake. So I imagine they're using the original Dunhill recipes. So I don't think there's any change in terms of when it gets to America. I think we touched on that previously. I think it's just a licensing issue which is holding it back from being sent to the States as yet. Nightcap and Morning Pipe are already out as far as I know. It's just a couple of the other ones. Dark Flake is not yet released. Hang on a second, let me go onto GQ's site and you'll be able to see for yourselves. Early Morning Pipe, Elizabethan, Flake, 965, Nightcap, Royal Yacht, a standard mixture, and that's what you've got so far. So did I see Elizabethan already? I'm sure I've seen. Yeah, it is there. Elizabethan is there. So I think all the most popular blends are out. But I'm surprised about Dark Flake, and I'm just wondering whether that needs more processes, possibly. I think that the issue with the getting the Peterson blends into the US Estival's shipping stopped my lust for the... Oh, I see, they were charging. How much were they charging? Meeks? Oh, you lucky boy, Harold. Actually, this Flake is because it's so fresh. It actually what? €37. That's ridiculous. But I must tell you the honest truth. Cuppa Joe's, and there are one or two people who spend a fortune at Cuppa Joe's here in the UK. But Cuppa Joe's also charge a stupid amount, which is why I haven't ordered from them. I would have spent a fortune in Cuppa Joe's if not for that, because they've got a great inventory, and I've been wanting to buy the back issues of the Pipe and Tobacco magazine, and I've had them in my bucket, in the to buy so many times, but they want something like $70 to ship, and that's just crazy. It's more than the value of the purchase. I've got about 6 or 7 of the back issues, and there's still plenty to be had, but it's just the shipping costs, really. And I guess that the magazines they weigh quite a bit. If you buy, say, 10 magazines, that's quite a bit of weight there. So, but still, $70 is a lot of money. Smoking pipes, for guys in the US, that's fine, but they won't have the new Peterson blends yet. And for us to order from Smoking Pipes, it's you're kind of taking a huge risk on the shipping, on customs, because they declare everything on their stickers, and it's just not worth the risk. So the Flake is a pipe puffer. It's good. It's very much the same, but because it's fresh, it's actually got a bit more poke to it, so it's quite nice. It's got a little bit more poke, a little bit more spice. I think that this is actually more readily smokable fresh than the Navy Rolls. The Navy Rolls is sweeter, but it needs more time to settle in. And I think the Flake is much more smokable now. Well, the tin art is the same on all of them, Rich. Pipes and Cigars in France, hi. Yes, I do order from the USA. Not as much as I used to. I haven't done one for quite a long time. I used to order quite regularly from Boswell's and from Four Noggin. Those were my two main sources in America, and they packaged the boxes in a way which greatly reduced the risk of them getting stopped in customs. €36 is not bad, Dublin. To the UK, it's about double. Beowulf, yeah, I had the same experience with them. Sometimes it's, if it does get stopped in customs, it's still cheap enough if you're getting enough tins in the box. But I find that the more you get, the more risk of it getting stopped. It's kind of a catch-22 situation. In order for the shipping to be worthwhile, you need to order enough tins. You order enough tins, too many tins, and you run the risk of getting stopped. Cuppa Joe's is a website. They sell pipes, tobacco, cigars, coffee. $22, Tim? How do you do that? Maybe it's because of the weight then. Maybe it's because of the weight. What kind of, how many tins are you talking about there, Tim? Yeah, I've had that as well, Beowulf. Not much you can do about that. pound of tobacco. That's pretty good. I'll have to have a look again at their website. Which shipping did you select? In fact, I think that when I went to checkout, it didn't give me the option. It just went straight to, I think it was by courier or USPS parcel or something. It came out at like $69 or $70. Alright, okay, I must be doing something wrong then. Either that or I'm too much weight. Obviously the price goes up with the weight, I guess. Well, I mentioned this in a previous video. In the UK, officially, there's a policy which wants to get smoking completely banned by 2030 or 2035, something like that. Thanks, Tim. I'll have to try again because I really want to get some of those magazines. I absolutely adore them. I've been printing out, I've told you this before, but I've joined up with a pipe collector magazine and I've been printing them up each time to read them. It's about 50 odd pages each magazine, so print them double-sided. Costs a fortune in ink, but I've now sourced a replacement ink, so I don't buy Canon ink anymore, for a fraction of the price, so I'm quite happy to print them nowadays. I print them off and I usually read them over the weekend, and they're fantastic reading. Really, $3.50? Wow, that is cheap. Do you not get done by customs? Joe Fish? €25 for Peterson tins. That's quite expensive. Very expensive, actually. What is a McBaron tin cost over there? One in four. Well, I heard the great news that Corbyn, not to get into politics of course, that Corbyn was going to resign if Labour didn't win the next election. Apparently that's been announced, so here's hoping. Somebody asked earlier on what happened to my last live. I actually publicised it. There was some stuff in there which I don't remember what it was. I wasn't happy about, but it's still up there. But it's just not it's not available. Wildcat, sorry, I did see the question and I forgot to answer it. I don't do anything special besides for every once in a blue moon I'll buff them on the wheel, but I generally don't do anything. I'm still kind of, in terms of the pipes that I make myself, I'm still sort of in the experimental stage. You know, what I've noticed is that pipe carvers, they all have their secret potions, you know, things which they make up and have evolved over years and years of trial and error, how to finish their pipes to maintain that shine. And there's actually different schools of thought. A lot of people, a lot of pipe carvers don't believe in having a really high glossy shine because it actually seals the pipe and stops it breathing. So at the moment, when I finish my pipes, I give them a good hard buff, and then I finish them with wax, and the wax will eventually wear off. If you want to bring back that sheen, you need to just either buy some kind of wax or a cream that will bring back the shine just with buffing. You can get a lot of there's plenty available on the market, but you can use carnauba wax, which is what I use. If you have a buffing wheel, easy enough. But in terms of pipes that you're going to smoke every day, I'm not sure that I would bother, because you might find that they smoke better and they breathe better if you don't have that really high gloss finish to it. Daniel, I have no idea. I'm not at that stage. At the moment, I'm learning to carve the pipes, different shapes, trying to just hone my skills at the sanding wheel. That's really my biggest area that I want to evolve and keep evolving. And I've been really happy with the way it's been progressing. But oil curing is just, it's almost a thing of the past. There are very, very select few people who oil cure their briar. Hey Clint, how you doing? Well, they'll find something else to tax, Grubnub. I've never heard of it being used for moustaches. I would say, Wildcat, the only time I really polish my pipes is when I'm going to sell them or gift them or something like that. My own pipes, that is. Obviously I polish the new ones that I sell, but if I'm selling one of my own pipes, my estate pipes, then I'll obviously clean them and polish them so they look their best for whoever the next user is going to be. Yeah, that is a question, John, that has been playing on my mind quite a bit, and it's one of the reasons why I kind of changed my position on Brexit to some extent. When Brexit first was touted, my initial gut reaction was the same as many people, which was yes, very patriotic kind of approach, that England's going to be its own sort of authority again, and yes, we should rule our own affairs, make our own rule book, our own regulations, and not be governed by Europe. And I was very much for Brexiting at the time, but it was really just a gut reaction. It wasn't based on any depth of research at all. And then it occurred to me that if we did Brexit, then all of the issues that we have with bringing in tobacco from America would have, if I was getting it from just across the channel, from France or Italy, Denmark, anything like that, Germany, I'd have all the same issues. So one of the reasons why I changed my mind is certainly the worry about restrictions on tobacco. But in terms of overall position, on balance, I think to some extent we had a fairly cushy kind of arrangement whereby we were in the EU but also had quite a lot of autonomy when it comes to our currency and various trade situations. And I think we probably will look back in the future, if we do Brexit, and realise that we had quite a good deal compared to other European countries. And we'll probably never be able to get that back again. So whatever Boris Johnson does, if he does manage to do some kind of deal, it wouldn't surprise me if it was something trying to approach what we have now, which would actually mean that we're not really Brexiting. Because I'm not sure, although I like Boris Johnson as a entertaining kind of person, But in terms of policy, I think he's, as a lot of people have been saying, his Brexit policy was based on getting to power, not on a personal, deeply held belief that it would be good for the country. And it was just a ticket that he went on in order to get into office. At least that's what's being said in the media. Whether it's true or not, I have no idea. Well, that is the whole point, Ron. Brexit would isolate the UK. That is the whole point. The idea of Brexit is that the UK becomes master of its own borders and master of its own affairs once again. But I'm kind of on the fence, because I find, I don't know where the UK stands, for instance, with political correctness and things like that, where it would stand if it were on its own. But I do find that the world is kind of descending into a bit of a crazy situation with political correctness and stuff like that. Yeah, Rich, I would agree. Thanks, Meeks. All the best. I'd be honest with you, I'm still, despite everything that's gone on, I'm still to an extent in the dark when it comes to what the rights and wrongs of Brexit in reality. Hey Grobdob, you can ask me anything you like. I've said it many times on my videos. I try not to hit hi Jimmy, I try not to talk religion or politics, but on the lives I do, because I'll entertain any questions up to a point. I think that's very unlikely, Daniel. I think most politicians now who are coming into power will have to follow the trend in order to get to power and to become popular, because the world has just gone so anti-tobacco that they would have to follow. They'd have to be really brave, because they'd have to follow the majority, really. Hey Hector, congrats on your win, on your win that you passed on very generously. Absolutely, Grobnob, it is a huge mess. That's the bottom line. Smoking the pizza and Flake at the moment. Smoking really nicely. Hey Chad, good to have you back. Thank you, Pipe Puffer. Yeah, Chad, absolutely. It's although it'd be interesting to see if Brexit does happen, whether anything would be so important to reverse. I can't think of any, besides for the stupid ones like the shape of bananas and things like that, but that's just childish stuff. But all of the borders, maybe that would be the only thing possibly, but in the grand scheme of things, the open borders I don't think has been a terrible travesty. The motion of people throughout Europe has been, there's been a lot of scaremongering about it, but yes, we've had a few problems here and there, but it's certainly a big strain on the National Health Service and on the general housing and that kind of thing, education. But overall, I don't know. As I say, it's not really a topic I can get into in great depth because I really don't. I don't know the details, the ins and outs of any. I've yet to come across anything which is so earth-shatteringly important that we need to come out because of it. So, come the day that Brexit happens, if it ever happens, what will be the first law or regulation that they change as a result? I don't know. I haven't heard of one yet. Well, he's married to a German, isn't he? I mean, that's his biggest saving grace, that he can talk about all of that because he can say, I'm not racist because I'm married to a German. And truth be told, I haven't actually heard him say anything really racist. That may not mean that I've heard everything he said, but he's a presenter on LBC. I hear him on a regular basis, and of course what he says in public may not be what he believes in private, but he's really stuck to his guns all the way through. And his biggest argument has always been about having more restricted borders. Hey Orchard, yeah, the stickers are mad here. This is some of the bigger ones. Apparently these tins were made double the height of these in order to allow for bigger stickers. I mean, imagine 50 grams of tobacco in here dances around. Imagine what it's doing in that tin. Smoking reduces fertility. The ridiculous thing about this is that they conflate, using a nice word from Mr. Ximba there, they conflate pipe smoking with cigarette smoking, and that's, all of the regulatory bodies like the FDA and the food people here, they all do the same thing. They just put it all in the same bucket, and well, Tim, you should smoke consulate cigarettes. Apparently they're not good for your fertility. Yeah, Beowulf, I think we've seen those here as well. Yeah, we're still waiting to hear about that whole cigar. I think they're trying to lump in cigars and pipe tobacco together to be excluded from their restrictions. Those are some pretty heavy stuff, Tim, no? I remember as a kid, the senior service used to see those in the shops. Yeah. I used to like seeing those in the films, the old, shorter, non-filtered cigarettes. For some reason, they just looked more manly, looked cooler to me. Daniel, I'm not too sure. Yeah, Bogart, exactly. Because Daniel, I haven't smoked that many blends which I've been able to get in bulk and in tin. But they do say that pouches compared to tins, that there is a difference. I have heard that pouches contain more humescence, more chemicals to keep it moist, compared to the tins which are airtight, whereas the pouches, they're kind of airtight but they don't last very long in terms of their airtightness. I spoke to Robert Germain of JF Germain's a while back, and I asked him, I wanted to know, because they went over to pouches for their tobaccos, they sell it in bulk as well. The tobaccos that I buy, usually I buy in bulk from GQ Tobacco, so special Latakia Flake, Rich Dark Flake, that kind of stuff I generally buy in bulk. The pouches, he told me that they shouldn't really be kept in there for more than about 3 months or so. And although I've personally not, I've got some pouches which I've had. I mean, this pouch, this is Special Virginia. Used to be known as Mellow Virginia, I think, from Benson and Hedges, but made in Denmark these days. This pouch has been open for a couple of months, and it's still quite moist in there. And he was talking about sealed pouches for 3 or 4 months, not more. So I think there are humescents added to pouches to make them last longer. Those Dunhills in the red and gold box, I used to smoke those when I was in my teens. I smoked for a period of about 5 years, when I was from about 16 and a half, 17 to about 22 years old. For the most part, in the beginning I smoked Marlboro Reds, and whilst I was in my smoking time, they brought in Marlboro Lights. It's the first variation of the Marlboro that was ever brought in. First it was Marlboro Reds, then I think it was Marlboro Hundreds, which is the longer version. Then they brought out Marlboro Lights, and then they brought out the Marlboro Lights Hundreds as well. Now they're called all different things. I don't know what they are now. I haven't smoked a cigarette in decades. But I also smoked the Dunhill red and gold boxes, and the Dunhills had an amazing aroma. Really had a really good aroma. They didn't taste as good as they smelled, but I loved the aroma. Smoked the old box of Rothmans here and there. Rothman's really quite strong. You can see a lot of the adverts on YouTube, the old adverts. I used to get the red Marlboros and the Marlboro Lights. Depending on which region you bought them from, they had a different flavour, so they were a slightly different blend. And we used to get the people that we knew who came over from America, used to get them to buy the boxes, the duty-free boxes of 10 packs, because the American ones had a different flavour. They had a more chocolatey kind of flavour to them, and we used to love them. We used to get mad for them. You know, the cigarettes have the brown filter tip at the top, with the brown sort of paper around it. The American ones didn't. They had it was white. The whole cigarette was white, and just a couple of gold bands around it. And those are the ones that we used to really love. I used to like the Hamlet adverts. Yeah, they were really good. The American The American Marlboro Lights Marlboros were in a soft pack mostly. I don't think I smoked Camels. I did try Pall Mall, I think. But that's all a long time ago. I wouldn't go back to cigarettes now. I went for a period of about 25 years without smoking anything at all. Maybe the odd cigar here or there, but essentially not smoking at all. And then discovered the pipe, and then discovered cigars again. Smoked Lambert and Butler sometimes, the silver, like the brushed silver box. And there was also a cheaper, trying to remember the name. I remember in college, one of the teachers there used to smoke the really cheap cigarettes. I'm trying to remember what they were called. Tim. They might even still be around. Old Joe Krantz. So you like your little nicotine hit there, Chad? You could have been smoking Balkan Sobrani, yeah. When I read some of the older magazines, or even some which are just 2 or 3 years old, and the people talk about their stash of original Balkan Sobrani that they're still smoking now, I think to myself that my stash of tobacco, which is, in my eyes, too sizable, what these guys must have, some of these sort of real, seriously committed pipe collectors. You know, people with 1,000 pipes, that kind of thing. The amount of tobacco they must have. And the vast majority of those old-timers will die not having smoked hardly a fraction of what they have. Well, when I was in college, in my sort of late teens, early 20s, a pack of cigarettes was around a pound, between £1 and £1.20. And I don't know what they are now in the shops. They're probably £10-11 by now for a box of 20. Thanks, Paul. Welcome. It's a good question. I personally prefer without the coating, but as a new smoker, I would say go for ones with a coating. I think that if you go for a pipe without any coating at all, you might not enjoy that till you break the pipe in. You might not enjoy the flavour. And what I do is I coat mine with honey, and that helps to build up a carbon layer much quicker. I don't do it for the flavour or for the sweetening. I don't think it gives much of a flavour to it, maybe a little bit, but that's not why I do it. I do it to build up the cake. But I would say initially, probably best to go with a coating. 50 grams of rolling tobacco is 20 quid? What? Where are you, Grobnob? I thought you were in the UK. Wow. So the average pouch that you buy of rolling tobacco, is that 50 grams? Hey George. That rolly stuff, is it the same as that size? Right. Okay, so 50 grams, you're saying it's 20 quid? And they're 30 grams. So how much is 30 grams? Yeah, I think 50 grams is 1.5 ounces, if I'm not mistaken. Or 1.7 ounces, something like that. And a 100 gram tin is about 3.5 grams. I've tried the Cocky Patel, definitely have. I've tried the Rocky Patels, I've tried quite a few. They're not my kind of thing. I find them too peppery. The vintage 1990, I'm pretty sure I have tried those, and I've also tried the Silver Anniversary, is it? So is that more expensive because it's meant for cigarettes? My favourite Cuban cigar, I've actually got some on the way at the moment because I've run out of them quite a while ago, is the H. Upmann Connoisseur No. 1. Not necessarily the best cigar out there, but it's my favourite in terms of it's got a reliable flavour, it's a good price, good size, and it's available. It's a regular line. Yes, you can get limited editions and regional editions which might taste better, but for a regular line Cuban cigar, that's my favourite cigar. It's interesting how different countries have different standard stuff that you can buy in the shops. When I was in Spain a few months ago, I was in Hector's region, and all of the tobacco shops, tabacalera, something like that, they all had the same kind of, they looked really like cheap tobaccos, pipe tobaccos. Some of them did have some of the McBaron blends, and occasionally the odd Dunhill tin here and there, but they all had a whole big selection of tobaccos which I'd never heard of, but they looked like really sort of a lower grade type tobacco. I was surprised. I thought that I would find a much bigger selection of cigars as well in Spain. So Spain is supposed to be the biggest market, one of the biggest markets in the world for Cuban cigars, if not the biggest market. All right, okay. Sorry, Hector. My Spanish geography is not what it should be. Behave yourself, grobnob. Daniel, takes longer to master, pipe smoking or cigars? It depends what you mean by master. Yeah, I get that, Hector. I realise Santander's a small place, very nice as it was, but yeah, you're quite right. So Daniel, what takes longer to master? It depends what you mean by master. To actually physically learn how to smoke, I would say a pipe takes longer. But having said that, you'd think that smoking a cigar is simply a matter of lighting it and sticking it in your mouth and smoking it. But if you guys remember, I went through a period where I used to put tape around the head of a cigar a couple of years back, because almost every cigar that I smoked was getting bitter. And I'm not sure what changed, but subliminally there must have been some kind of learning curve when it came to smoking a cigar, and I've never had that issue since then. It's really never been an issue, so I'm not really sure what that was all about. People were saying to me that I was smoking them too wet, which I was totally not conscious of, and I don't feel that I've made any changes, but clearly there has been some change. But in terms of on the surface of it, I would say pipe smoking certainly takes longer. You've got to master the art of packing your pipe, preparing the tobacco, loading the pipe correctly, your cadence, tamping, learning how to keep it alight, all of that kind of stuff, I think is a much steeper learning curve. Good night, OCD, all the best. Yeah, as a new smoker in general, I would say that pipe smoking, it takes longer to master. Once you've mastered it, Hector, it's not rocket science, but when you're in that early stage, I can certainly remember that early stage. For 2 or 3 months, it was very frustrating for me, and I think a lot of people stop pipe smoking because of that period where you have that learning curve. It can be quite frustrating. In terms of nuances and appreciating the different flavors and blends, I think that Cigars equally has a bewildering array of blends, and I think as your palate gets more and more refined and experienced, you'll appreciate those subtleties more and more. When you first start smoking a cigar, certainly you'll think that they all taste the same, whereas when you're smoking your pipe, they quite clearly, if you smoke a Latakia blend versus an aromatic blend versus a Virginia blend, they will all taste different, and you'll notice that difference pretty much straight away. But with cigars, when you start off, they're all going to taste pretty much the same until your palate starts to learn to discern the subtleties between one cigar and another. So from that point of view, cigars is probably harder to appreciate, not necessarily to master, but to appreciate the differences. I think it takes longer with cigars. Yeah, Hector makes a very good point. I think a lot of people start with aromatic tobaccos, which are heavily cased, full of chemicals and moist flavourings which burn your tongue, and if you haven't learned how to pack your pipe yet and you start with one of those tobaccos, you're doubling up your problems. So yeah, definitely I agree. Thanks, Beowulf. Time does fly. I thought this evening started a bit earlier than usual. Excuse me, I'm just taking on some energy. I started a bit earlier. I thought I'd finish a bit earlier, but as you say, it just flows. It's a really nice, relaxing evening. Good company, good smokes. Time just flies. Well, I'm happy to report certainly that both of these Peterson blends, in my opinion, are exactly the same. Where's the Dunhill one? Oh, that is the Dunhill one. Going mad as usual. And there's the Peterson. Good night, Dublin. So I think I'm gonna just not this one. Where is it? I did want to try this. I showed this earlier. Yeah, Newton, you won't. Don't bother trying to get the older version. This is exactly the same. And just one of the old adages is, if you're buying pipe tobacco, buy 2 tins. Buy one to smoke, one to put away each time, and then you'll slowly build up a cellar, and you'll be able to go back to your blends 2 or 3 years down the line, and you'll have amassed a decent cellar, and you can start to appreciate the differences between older tobacco and fresh tobacco. Yes, Elizabethan is out. Don't get me started on mutton chop. Alright, so this is Dunhill Navy Rolls, Escudo, and some straight Latakia, which I mixed up and pressed about, what are we, about 6-7 months ago. So I made this little puck. My trusty Spyderco UKPK. That does smell good. Beautiful looking texture there. Nice chocolate brownie kind of look to it. Your good friend Bradley will be happy as long as people are sending him nice gifts. But he will be happy in that he will have his Elizabethan. I think we learn until the day we die. And if you believe what a big part of the world tell you, then you will continue learning after that as well. Or at least you'll acquire some knowledge. Verification, possibly. If it's all true. Hey, Dima. Moi? Hector? Well, Wolf, you know what I'm like. When I commit, and I keep saying that I always go back to my original inspiration, which was the Dagners. It's quite a cliche to say that because a lot of people refer to them, but it's the truth. The Frank method, that's what I use most of the time. And once you, like everything, once you learn it, it's nothing. It's just second nature. But the passion that they had at the time in those days, the early days, going back 4 years ago, just you really had an appreciation of the hobby from them, and that's where I got it from, and I've been passionate about it since. And this is really making the pipes is just an extension of that, taking it to the next level. This is my third tobacco tonight. I'm probably going to regret this. No, I mean, I'll be honest with you, in terms of their pipes, I haven't really been a fan, although I did enjoy a couple of them a lot. I don't have any Dagners anymore. I've had over the years, I've had quite a number, and they're actually very well made Italian factory pipes. They're as good as any of the other factory pipes out there, and in some ways they're better. And all of those, the Dagners and OMS, they're all the same genre. That's probably all from the same factory. Well, the Dagners don't put out any videos anymore, not really. Yeah, I mean, the Dagners was, they're really it's almost like a cult. You either follow them or you're into them madly or not. And I think that it was very clever marketing on their side, on their part. And it worked for them. I don't know what their current status is. You don't really see them bigging up anything at the moment. I don't know if they're busy enough as it is, or if they're going through some kind of change in their lives. I've got no idea. You don't hear much from them anymore. I did have one of their corn cobs, the Dagner cob. I smoked it a fair bit, but I've never really been into cobs, to be honest. I've got a country gentleman, a cob, which my 5-year-old daughter plays with. It gives you an idea of how much because I wouldn't let my kids play with any pipes that I want to smoke. They were building a workshop, but that's been like ages already. Oh, that tastes nasty. That does not taste good at all. I think it's too much Latakia. Cheers, Newton. Thanks for joining. Yeah, you're probably right, Grobno. In terms of Jason's knee, he's had issues with his knee for donkey's years, and he was getting steroid injections every so often. He's mad on his skateboard, which I don't understand, because he's just abusing his knees. He still gets a steroid injection done, and then a few days later he's back on the skateboard. But that's, people do what they enjoy. Jimmy, it'll be on soon. There's been a bit of a confusion on my end. I have to basically load it. I didn't realise it was that Phil was waiting on me, so that should be up soon. I think maybe I've smoked too much to really get a good impression of this, but at the moment it's really not tasting very good at all. It's It's one of those hash-ups of tobaccos which just don't work. In theory it should work, but it doesn't. I think my palate is also a little bit tainted. It's smoothing out a little bit as we speak. They've been introductory, but I can see that Mike, Briar Blues, has already got a couple of videos on. He's already started a series for new pipe smokers. You're probably right, Beowulf. But when I'm not smoking Latakias, I can go all day smoking. But Latakias, I find that I can't smoke too many, one after another. So even Northwoods, which I enjoy, I'll have a bowl of it and then I'll move on to something else. I think it's the Escudo which I'm tasting. I'm not a big fan of Escudo. I find it to be a little bit rough around the edges, a little bit, what's the word? A little bit harsh. I'm used to Navy rolls and that kind of thing when it comes to, or even Asquith blend, is it called? Asquith mixture from GQ Tobaccos, which is a vapor. And I think that harshness is what's coming through. Who's they, Hector? That's what I want to know. Don't you have to have a beard to be a hipster these days? Oh, right. Well, old codgers probably won't have much in the way of hips, so I'm not sure how that would work. Probably hear the clicking of the hips, of the artificial hip joints. Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah, I did used to do that with a lot of my videos. I did start off with the intro, but it means that I'd have to sit and edit. And my whole way of doing things is really to do things without spending too much time on it. So when I record a video, I just upload straight from my phone, and to start editing and stuff like that would take too much time, and you'd see a lot less videos. Maybe some people will say that's a good thing, but it's every so often when I do edit a video. In fact, I still have that holiday video to do, which I haven't done. Completely forgot about it. My summer vacation, I was supposed to do a video, but I've completely forgotten about it. That's already in history. Latakia is coming through now, starting to get a little bit more of a, but I'm getting quite a nicotine hit, you know. It's far too high, the Latakia content in this. It's about a 20% Latakia content. It's a Peterson Old Boy style lighter. They cost about 50 quid nowadays, but they're really not made for any rough use. It's good to have on your desk and for gentle use, but it's not a lighter that I would have knocking around or in the car or anything like that. I'm a copster. I'm a codger who would like to be a hipster, possibly. My beard is too short, that's true. Although a few months back I let it grow out quite a bit, but my wife wasn't having any of it. My beard length is more of a Jeremy Corbyn length. That's about all I've got in common with him. Actually, even shorter than that. Josh, what a great line. What a great line. Well, at least he's flirting. Explode happy or explode not happy? Just out of shock she would explode? Chad, I'm still expecting to see a video of you on the back of a Harley one day. Not yet, Jimmy. We did talk about it a little bit earlier on. But I dug around in my drawer and I found this clipper, which is a clipper pipe lighter with an angled head here. So that's butane. It's actually a pretty good lighter. Perfect for running around with. The only issue with this one was that it got hot very quickly. But other than that, I'm going to try this one again. I'm going to keep this in my pocket for a few days and see how it goes. You did the dishes, Grobnob? You didn't strike me as a doing the dishes kind of guy. I'm impressed. Genuinely impressed. Nob, not so grob now, is it? Doing the dishes takes you down a peg or two. What I do find with these clippers is that it never lights the first time. Well, it did there because I just lit it. But from cold, you always have to strike it twice for some reason. Alright people, I think I'm done for tonight. I think I'm done with the smoking as well tonight. My head's a little bit heavy from that Latakia blend. So unless there's anything else that any of you guys want to talk about, I think I'm done in terms of topics for discussion. So I'm going to say thank you to everybody. Thank you Robert, thank you Josh, thank you Rich, thank you Chad, Hector Grobnob, North Country Fisher, Dima, Robert Beowulf, Jimmy, Ruff. How's the new doggy, Jimmy? Mr. Eximba, and everybody else. Comrade. I'll be glad when we see the back of him. Good night, Orchard. What if you put shrink wrap around it? What, around your dog? I don't think he'd appreciate that. Shrink wrap around what, Jimmy? Oh, you mean around the lighter? No, it doesn't get hot in the holding area, just this area here. And when you holding it there, you're holding this trigger, so that area here is really hot, and you can't really shrink that, wrap this area. This area here is fine. It's just this area here gets really hot. Anyhow, thanks everybody. Thanks Jimmy. Have a good night everybody. I will catch you on the very next one. Nighty night.